I want to start off with a poem called Daughter of the King. Each one of most of my pieces have some sort of backstory, so I'm going to try to segue it or contextualize each piece. So this stemmed from like pillow talk. Y'all know what pillow talk is, right? You're laying in bed with somebody and little pillow conversations. And my wife began to share with me some of her traumas that happened when she was younger, and issues of abuse, sexual abuse, and just different things. And it was just a really deep conversation. And out of that, I was like, man, it'll be really. It kind of inspired me to write a poem that was like uplifting for like black girls, African American girls, and stuff. So, so that's the context to this piece here. It's called "Daughter of the King," and then we'll talk about some other stuff. Sandcastles made of sand and salt water don't mix well in the path of a man running backwards to catch a football, because after all, accidents happen. It's a small world, and often when little girls' dreams of being a princess in her own little kingdom get stepped on, salt water runs down her face at a pace that would cause her to taste bitter memories of the beach with every blink. Some never return to that place. This is to rebuild hope for daughters whose stories far outnumber the writers to publish. Pregnant at 13, teenage mother of two, bad girl school, alcoholic insomniac who sleepwalks into the lustful hands of a pastor who claims Jesus will save you. It's a miracle. My wife trusts anything anyone says anymore. So daughter, when did you lose your fascination for snow globes? Replace them for headphones, ear to the ocean floor, searching for something deeper. Heartbeats, rhythms, beats, pumping beautiful music with ugly lyricism. Stingrays and jellyfish are delightfully deadly. Feed me, Seymour. Feed me masterpieces for pieces of nickel that appear to be silver. Is this why you can't hear me? Hear ye, order, court in session in an attempt to convince you that you are the daughter of diamond waterfalls. In every color and eyes language can interpret, think fast. The only job you have is to believe that God can do his, but you don't believe me. Poof. Answers disappear like love notes in glass bottles, brushed up on beach shores, but I guarantee you, daughter, someone will find you. Like black and white photographs of colored girls in history textbooks, think she can't quite fit the picture-perfect frame of being a princess, but what would happen? What would happen if I told you that there are queens in your lineage, that golden apples hang from your family tree? Would you believe me? I am Andrea Gibson, meaning I want to right wrongs instead of poems. What has happened to the woman that would hand wash her sorrows on the soapy, rigid surface of faith and gather a bucket of clothespins to hang dry her tears in the sun and spend bell tower hours teaching her daughters to do the same? Ask redhead Annie what it's like to be an orphan and be adopted into a palace. Ask peasant Jew Esther what it's like to be an orphan and be adopted into a palace. I call you more valuable than Annie and Esther. It's possible, daughter of the king. Your agony and labor is nothing more than unborn dynasties. Pain may endure for a night, but joy comes in the yellow and white Key Western sunrise. Happiness in the kingdom isn't reserved for fairy tales, so I hope to God you believe in miracles, because at the end of the day, when the snow globe settles, believe me, miracles believe in you. All right. Now I feel like I can't stand up. I feel like I'm stuck in this position here. I don't know. We'll see what happens. No plans. I travel with a group called the No More Foundation. They raise awareness about adoption and foster care, going to like different cities and regions and try to get like government entities and nonprofit and churches and everyone that is a part of the ecosystem of wraparound services for foster care in the same room to connect with each other and build. And they break down the numbers of how many kids need to be adopted or, and there's pretty much like a charge to get, people involved. And so I usually perform this poem that I'm about to do now, where I share the stories of two individuals that I knew who went through the foster care system and came out and did better, and that kind of thing, as a way for people to not just look at numbers, but to experience the stories behind these numbers. And so this poem is called Faceless. It goes like this. Like, do I stand up? Do I sit down? What does I do? Positions, everyone, from the diaphragm on my cue. There's an entire choir made out of an orphanage in Uganda where the orphans sing like organs. Fluorescent light shoots out of their voices to the point where their hallelujahs are blinding. I never met them, but I did meet Jim. My name is faceless to most, but I answer to Jim. All I know is that I was born in an army base in North Carolina. Mommy and daddy split. Next thing I know, like cargo, I was packaged and shipped to Indiana. A 6-month intention turned into some 18 years. Auntie was basically forced to adopt me. Emotional tug of war for decades. Anger settled at the bottom of my glass heart like pebbles. Silhouettes of suicide seduces my senses, and suddenly, sometimes I find myself competing with not even existing. Thinking that perhaps with casket and cold body, the chances were higher that someone would kiss me or validate my presence or gifting. But the Lord goes gleaning. He plucked me out of a cornfield in Indiana, uses me as cornbread to feed many. There's a dinner table full of misfits that fit right into God's plan. Can somebody say grace? Man, this is just some of my story. And I did meet Leah. My name is faceless to most, but I answer to Leah. I watched daddy overdose on heroin when I was 3 years old, but remember it as though it were earlier today. Mommy moved us from Manhattan to Apopka, Florida. To aunts and uncles, I was just known as my crazy sister's daughter. Out of control of the situation, I refrained from conversations. Mommy's questionable lifestyle landed her locked up, leaving me, Leah, like leftover luggage family wasn't prepared to carry. Hated being everybody else's burden. Tried to run away, but got caught because they heard me in the kitchen. Guess I should have used pillowcases instead of plastic bags. I wasn't taken away. I was given to the system. My entire 6th grade year coming home to Great Oaks Village Group Home, not one soul came to visit this little girl, and there were always visitors. I inhaled rejection and exhaled hate, sorrow, and confusion like puffs of cigarettes. It wasn't good for me. The foster care glasses are really cheap and plastic, and with the gap in my teeth, man, how mean they can be to a half-white, half-Latino nobody who needed a friend. Eventually, a family takes me in. Gaining a new father, but losing my natural mother in the same breath from a jail cell, staring into her beautiful eyes, now the color of HIV, she has to sign consent papers, releasing responsibility. I watched her go from healthy to a skeleton in the blink of a lifetime, 12 years young, numb, like Novocaine ran through my veins, from my brain on down, y'all. I'm still healing. My new daddy fixed computers as a hobby, and my brother was a genius. They spoke to me quite often of Jesus, so I picked up interest in both PCs and the gospel. I currently run and program computer systems at schools for a living. There must be a God who cares about children. This is just some of my story. For the 143 million worldwide left between the cracks of city streets and DCF, listen, keep your head up. There's an elephant in the sky, huge and has a great memory. You are not forgotten. You are remembered and revered. And on behalf of the 286 million or so parents unprepared, I apologize. I pray all stone hearts among you are broken by a rushing river of love from a family that never runs dry in more ways than one. I wish upon you the blessings that come from being adopted. All right. right. All right, so we'll take deep breaths in between these pieces. I have no jokes for y'all tonight. I know I'm sitting on a stool and did the cigarette motion, but whatever. I'm a creative nonfiction writer, right? So I try to take stories and just retell them creatively. This has nothing to do with anything, but most recently, because with my job I do this like community children's storytelling thing. We invite readers from the Orange County Library anyway. And one of the stories was on Bessie Coleman, right? And I never really understood her story. It was like, oh, it's really, really fascinating. So look up Bessie Coleman, read her story. It's just, you can have that, whatever. It's like, I felt like I just gave y'all homework for no reason. Anyways. Huh? You do get a grade, but it's self-graded, so we'll do like that. Another interesting story that I thought would be worth a retelling, if you will, is a poem I wrote called Manji. And I include, similar to the last poem, elements of adoption and so forth with this guy who lived, I believe, in the 60s. I said lived in the 60s like it was so long ago. Oh, shame on me. But he lived in a village called Bihar, India, and he had a dilemma where the people in his village didn't have quick access to like medical care and stuff like that because there was this mountain between the nearest hospital and the village that they had lived in. And so if anyone needed emergency medical attention, they would have to drive all the way around this mountain to get to the village. And his wife ended up actually dying, waiting for attention that she needed immediately. And so that began a process of what he did later, and I imagine he gathered some other people in the village to help him, but he began to like chip away at this mountain. And it was like a period of 22 years that they took, but there was like now like a direct path between the hospital and that village. And I was like, oh, that's super inspiring, and it kind of speaks to the things that we do now do have an effect on those that come after us, So I talk about that in relationship to my own story, and I tend to merge things together. So I know it's a long context, but I like doing that, and I'm sitting on a stool, so I feel like it's storytelling time, right? Manji. What if everybody woke up only with the things they thanked God for yesterday? When my student first showed me this quote on her cell phone, my first thought was, I'm using that in a poem. Had I answered the thought at the moment, I might have woken up without a family. Shame on me. Unfortunately, that's the reality for so many across the globe for different reasons. Can't thank God for something you don't have. Or can you? Guess it depends on the faith of whom you're asking. I tell you, the most beautiful pictures in the world are painted with bristles dipped in blood. Looks like sweet aromas. Have you heard this theory called love? Chief motivator behind extraordinary acts. Either read the book of Acts or research this dude named Dashrath Manji. Flashback, Bihar, India. Sounds like the tinkling, chiseling away at solid rock with bare East Indian hands for 22 years, from 1960 to 1982, till there's a road through that mountain. See, his wife died quietly years ago while waiting for the ambulance to go around it. It took too long. Rose petals fell from her fingertips. Mr. Manji literally paved the way for the future, and I've seen similar fire in the eyes of parents in adoption pamphlets, praying that an all-powerful God would grant them the chance to chisel through a child's rocky circumstance. Call it a labor of love. I've been there. I loved her and accepted them. I love them. For every stepfather and stepmother who stepped up to the plate and removed the prefix, my now family of 6 salutes you. We're not all called to be heroes because only Jesus saves, but I'll be a sidekick. Colorful Speedos outside of spandex, ridiculous, but be careful with self-images. They crumble as easy as ancient documents. Motives can be the enemy of motivation. Adopt with compassion. The world is much larger than your living room. Call me crazy. But I think real Christians could put the foster care system out of business. Adopted when I was 5, found out at 29. God took me in around 9. All around, I'm a living witness. What if everybody woke up only with the things they thanked God for yesterday? Would all the lost children of the world wake up to a new family and coffee brewing, seeing a ceiling fan moving and a kaleidoscope of warm voices in the morning? Yeah. So there's that. There's a lot in there that I'll attempt to ground a little bit. So obviously, I know I shared a little bit about some of my wife's challenges. She had children very young. Those kids became my kids. We got married, and then we have 3 more together. So we got we're a blended family, mixed bag, but it's all joyous. You know, life is roller coaster ride, what have you. One of those bumps on that journey was finding out that the person I thought was my biological dad was not. That was in 2012 at the age of 29. And I learned that, my dad he found out that I wasn't biologically his when I was 5. He didn't know how to communicate that to me. My mom was also kind of afraid to share that it could be the possibility of being someone else as well. And so no one kind of, said anything. And she was also, it was just, in their view, better just to not say anything. And my who I came to learn as my biological dad, I found out he didn't know that my mother was even pregnant, right? So I was just as much as surprised to him as he was to me. And, we kind of, are building our relationship like hence forth and so on. So effectively, the dad that I grew up knowing as my dad, decided to stay in my life, even though he knew that, what the situation was. And so I'm like, oh, that's a form of adoption, in a sense. And so I tried to kind of tie that together with that story. But yeah, life's a journey. I don't know how much time we're going, but I have a set of poems that I'm going through, and if it fits the 30-minute time frame, then we're good. Just, I don't know, Nadia, ring the bell or something. Yeah, shouting out works too, clearly, because that. Yeah. So this next poem I'm gonna do is called Rio. I like to tell a story. I'm realizing more of myself now. Like, I'm a narrative kind of griot-esque poet, storyteller guy. But my great grandmother turned 100 years old back in, oh gosh, I forget the year. But whenever it was, they were doing a big party for her, and they're like, Shawn, can you write a poem to honor, Granny Cinti? Her name's Hyacinth Bourne. Everyone calls her Aunt Cinti. So I was like, gladly, of course. Yeah, I'll do that. So the intent initially was to honor her with this piece, but I always try to parallel it with something in history or, that kind of make it grounding. And so the story that I chose was in 2016, the Olympics, if y'all are fans of, athletic, Olympic, whatever, those stories are really inspiring, like what people go through to get to that level. And one of those stories was they had the first refugee Olympic team in 2016. These were athletes who qualified for their said sport, but did not have the infrastructure within their own country to like support them and so forth. But the Olympic Committee decided, let's get these refugees together and they can compete. And it was just really fascinating. And they walked in during the processional under the Olympic, those 5 rings. They walked in under that banner, and I was like, just so inspired by that. And so it's a poem about like kind of like running your race and that kind of thing. So this is called Rio, and I'm looking at the time, like Like I said, just wave me down. All right, here we go. When that first refugee Olympic team took to the streets of Rio in 2016, global reception was warm. With no national anthem prepared for the podium, I wonder if the athletes would have just closed their eyes and sang their favorite song. Outside looking in, they already won. 1916. That's the year my great-grandmother was born. Bordering one country north of those same summer games is Guyana. It's where both sides of my family's from. Her name's Hyacinth Bourne. And even Bolt's 100-yard dash can't compare to the 100 years crossed last November. So many memorable stories to share, but I'll hold on because this poem would be too long. And I don't like people looking at me like, are you done? She's no refugee, but the similar sentiments got me thinking about legacy and milestones and how important it is to celebrate checkpoints of accomplishment, coupled with flowers for those still alive to smell them. Although magic moments seem to be seldom, consider this: that Olympic team of 10 competed in track and judo and swimming, treading water, running and fighting are of those fleeing war-torn countries. Turning tragedy to triumph requires resilience, mentally accepting delayed gratification, and the kind of brilliance becoming of my granny. Though surgeries were multiple and major, she'd still memorize every mother and dog's phone number and their neighbors. Brains sharp like lasers, faith in God got family fused from the old school. But look, rumor has it Granny be on Facebook, posting inspirational quotes from DJ Khaled. Can you imagine what it must be like to survive 100? Or to go from refugee camp to running in the 800. This is about legacy. We all have a race to run on a world stage, and it looks different for everyone. Let me paraphrase Einstein before I'm done. If you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing it is dumb or somehow less. This isn't about what you can't do, my friends. It's a question of how you function best, and what, if not who, were you designed to bless between birth and death dates. Legacy is built upon the dashes. It's custom made, maybe memorable, definitely matchless. Run. Let the breeze brush off the heat of the sun. Add to that legacy. Make it a great one. Mark every milestone to the sound of an angelic chorus. And if you ever get discouraged while running long distances, remember to reflect on the legends who blazed trails, cracked and shattered glass ceilings, who are seated before us. All right. One more? All right. So I'll do one more. Piece here. And I think it's fitting. I know it was mentioned, like, I'm the poet laureate for the city of Orlando, and I'm wearing an Orlando shirt, a very tight one, so that everyone sees my muscles in the bright lights. Oh my gosh. Sorry, I'm being weird. That's what happens when you give me 30 minutes. This was a poem that I was asked to write on that occasion when I was installed as poet laureate. I don't know if anyone here has been to any city council meetings, but they're not the most exciting of meetings. So I was very glad to add this little bit of flavor on that day when they had to, everyone in favor say aye, the whole whatever. So let me ask you all a question. What do you like about living here? I'm gonna do some audience interaction. What do you like about living here in Central Florida? Oh, diversity. Okay, of people and cultures. Okay, anyone else? I4. Anyone else? Oh, me? Oh, that's sweet. Thank you, Laura. Hope Community Center. Ugh, I love you guys. Anyone else? The produce? Okay, very cool. Well, this poem is about that why, right? Orlando's called the city beautiful, but I think it's important to think about and reflect on why. Why the city beautiful, like, for you, is the angle that I wanted to take when writing this poem. So So the poem's called Reasons Why, and I'll close with this. When we say or you see my city beautiful, have you ever asked why? Because visitors might say palm trees have voices of their own, speak for themselves amidst the cotton candy day sky and a rainbow lit night sky. Is it also true for you who reside betwixt the magical water rides? In the cool shadow of the Orlando Eye, Caribbean roots plant well in this soil. They say my city beautiful, but why? Because date night at the Robinson cocktail vibes. Goff's ice cream still survives. Jeremiah's I got to have because La Chanera and Mi Banderas and Reyes on Orange Ave. At Mamak, I like to meet, or maybe it's me, I like to eat. Roti shops to Seafood Station or Sister Honey's for a treat. We welcome the retirees from the north and from the west. Celebrate arts in the street from Immerse to Fusion Fest because the world comes to us. We don't seek validity. Orlando's way too cool to complain about humidity. Wet and wild will never forget you. Slide down Bombay, they loose you. We don't forget. We honor the past while still embracing the future because innovation's in our veins, because magic, because lions, because growth comes with the sound of the sunrail over the iron, an electrifying region. Resilience could be a tagline because the long lines to give, because our pulse never flatline, because beauty's beyond visual. When you feel it, you can't deny. So when we say or you see my city beautiful, just remember the reasons why. That is my time, y'all. Appreciate you. I'm going to hand it back over to our lovely host.
See, the stool turned out to be a good choice, I think, right?
I think yes.
So one more round of applause for Shawn. We are very grateful to you as the Orlando Poet Laureate for helping us to kick off this event. And can I say, halfway through our first official event of this series, I'm like, I'm so excited. I do want to turn attention before we get to the second half of the show to Gina over here, who is doing our art. Gina, do you want to tell us a little about what you're doing?
I'm an abstract artist, and my art can be seen around the room. But tonight, I felt like it was a special night, poetry. I felt inspired by the divine femininity that poetry at least gives to me. And so I'm doing a little silhouette. We'll see how it turns out.
Thank you. One of the things that I noticed while Gina was painting and Shawn was reading, and this is probably the first time I've seen this while being at Timucua, is how many times Gina turned to Shawn and connected with him. And I think that's beautiful art, motivating art, which is, as part of our authenticity and our inclusivity, is something that we plan to promote as we go forward. I thought that was very beautiful because that doesn't often happen. Like, we're over here in this space and somebody else is over here in this space and we're not connecting together. So I really appreciated that. The second part of our show is going to be an open mic again. But again, with art motivating art and there being different types of art, we're just not going to do poetry this time. We want this to be a little of everything. So the first part of the show is always going to be poetry. Our open mic is going to be whatever helps you open up yourself, whatever is your honesty, whatever is personal to you. So we have some readings, we have some music, and we are going to start with Miss Delaney Anderson, who is a volunteer here at Timucua. Off to you.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Delaney. My poetry is on my phone. So this one is called Fate. Why is it that life's so great, but then fate comes along? She mixes sadness and anger in a golden glass and sits me on a throne. Makes me drink the glass of poison that makes me drop my crown. Now I'm sad and angry and can't sit on my throne again, for now I'm just a jester here to entertain fate as she poisons me again. And then the second one is called Ocean. To sit on the edge of the sea is truly a sight. The water lapsing over your feet, the sand running smoothly across your skin. It is like no other feeling in the world. Staring out at all you can see is a deep, vast ocean of nothingness, or so it appears. On the surface, there is no creature in sight, but underwater is where they all thrive. People are a lot like the sea. On the surface, they may look fine, but just wait until you dive deep. Thank you. And
Thank you. That was so lovely. Thank you so much. Excellent. So I'm going to introduce the next person for our open mic, and I will go with Nikki Barnes, who I know is here because we did talk. So welcome, Nikki.
Hi, I'm Nikki Barnes, and it is such a pleasure to get to be here. I'm so grateful to Benoit and the team and everybody that puts on these incredible nights. Lauren, Nadia, oh my God, Shawn, I can't even. Gina is a collaborator of mine, and I had texted her that I was coming and I couldn't wait to see her, and her text was, here's the link to sign up. And I was like, damn it. And I volunteered at the Hope Center, and I've collaborated with Benji and my high school teenagers in the audience, so it's a really cool collision, and I think that is really the joy and possibility of creative life and living, even in whatever number apocalypse we're living in right now. So for me, poetry is my prayer. So I'm going to share a couple of those prayers with you tonight. 3 by 3. Why can't I remember Miramar? Hazy nostalgia mixed with unsupervised hours. My hands and face unlined. My memory retrieval acid sours. I wear my own ring now. Nothing if it isn't comfortable. And too much black. Inhaling you in clothes and sheets. My favorite color is something like gray when you look at me in the rain. And once more I find myself driving too fast, the ocean on my left, and nothing to remember. This is a hard one to do because it's new, and that's dangerous and scary with poetry because it's not really great right out of the oven. But kind of the charge we face, I think, as artists and creative people is to respond now in real time, because that's when we're living. This time we stream the videos. This time we watch the woman die over and over because it's gone viral on TikTok. This time we share calls for art and poetry that responds to war. This time a woman plays her piano covered in soot from exploded concrete. One last time as she is leaving, and someone records it on their phone, and I listen, and I share it, and I listen, and I stop before it's over. This time, Ilya Kaminsky reminds us again what we did during the war, and that it is again something that happens on our tiny screens, in our hands. This time, it isn't you that's displaced, and it isn't me that's crowdfunding a child's funeral. This time. And the last one is in terms of math, because I'm a nerd. And so go to class, James. Calculus notations. Half-life is the concept that if you divide something in half, you will never reach the end. As the limit approaches infinity, well, in this case, approaches zero infinitely. Hell via mathematics. And there comes a point in this plane or dimension of time, d of time, that the division of oneself has been so multiplied, now covering the distance to the moon, now 400 times more, now the sun halved and halved and halved again, and always enough remains to be cut in half again. Still, you keep your distance. Let C be the constant. Now suppose that variable is carried to some higher power, or carries variables, varies until nothing more can be carried, not even this function of the changes from before when letters made sense, and beauty as the line of you curved through a plane with one or more turning points, deepens. Depends on the X. In some way, X marks where you crossed an axis of parabolic bodies. What happens to the area underneath the curve when all I can do is go under, divided?
Thank you so much. Lauren wanted me to tell you that her engineer is really excited about the math poem. I am also very excited because when Lauren and I talked about this event and organizing, we really wanted to make sure that this was our authentic selves today, that it could be raw, that it could be us, that we wouldn't have to be like limited by necessarily a theme, but you just wanted to be connected as humans. So it's really, really awesome to be here. Thank you, Shawn, for being here, and thank you everybody for being here. I just want to remind you that if you want to be part of our open mic, you can sign up. We have a link that goes with our social media, so you can just go there and sign up, and then we'll know to call your name. So there's a couple more people in our list, and I did not see Anna, but maybe you arrived. Anna, are you here yet? So maybe Anna's not here yet, and that's all right. So we have our last performer of the night, and it's someone that I actually had the pleasure to talk to when I first learned about Timucua a few years ago, and who actually was part of the reason why I ended up being on stage here with my organization launching. And I want to welcome Joseph Hayes.
So right now I'm in the middle of a year-long project called the Hayes Project, because that's me. I've got 2 more plays, one in May at Fringe and one in June, and this is the 4th act of a 5-act show, which will be my Fringe show. It's called The Mockingbird News, and I will just hold this. I usually do this with a band, and since we don't have a band, I'm going to ask you for your imaginations. This comes in 3 parts. The first part is a Coltrane, slow, smooth, mellow kind of jazz. The second act is a 3/2 rumba clave, which I'm sure you all know, and you will. And the third part is an instrumental version of Tower of Power's What is Hip. So hold those in your head because I will be, and we'll try to get to it. February 1st of next year makes 100 years since my mother's father came to this country from Russia. In 8 years, I have discovered, my father's family will have been Americans for 400 years. I'm now older than either of my parents got to be. It's an unsettling contemplation, but my grandfather, the Russian one, lived until he was 84, so that's encouraging. My grandfather, the Russian one, fled across the Black Sea to the Ottoman city of Constantinople, just as Allied forces occupied after World War I. He spent almost a month crossing the sea on the SS Madonna, heading for the immigration cages at Ellis Island. The same ship, 8 days later, left New York, carrying refugees who had been refused entry because the government's immigration quota had been filled, same as it ever was. Do you know the word circadian? A sequence of sleep and stirring marked on a 24-hour clock, controlled by cryptochromes, hidden colors, blue-green bacterial pigments in the eye that transmit the cycle of daylight and dark to a molecular clock, the circadian pacemaker, the suprachiasmatic nucleus. We are ruled by bacteria and gastrointestinal flora and fungi and color and sound and the magnetic field of the earth, everything, in fact, except our brains. The brains that make some people see sounds and taste colors and have internal hallucinations that make us think we hear music. How many circadian circles are in 84 years? What combination of color and sound and gut biome made my grandfather sneak through borders and hide from armed patrols and get on a boat for an unknown America alone? Perhaps the gut biome that survives pogroms and Nazis and the shatter zone of empires and the pale of settlement, and yet, same as it ever was. The cryptochromes in my eye are older than my ancestors who stumbled upon the shores of Massachusetts in 1630. After more than 2 months at sea, maybe it's the hereditary genetic memory of those horrible ocean voyages that have kept me from learning how to swim. Part 2. The Hopi people tell us Mockingbird taught humans to speak. We speak with our eyes, our hands, our bodies. We make our own sounds and mimic others, like the mockingbird. What if your life could be changed by words? What if your life could be changed by words, but you've never heard a poem? What if there are superpowers? If you and only you can fly, how would you know? What if that man begging for coins had the biggest capacity for love in all of history, but he's heard the words of sorrow since the day he could walk? What if that person begging for coins was Herbie Nichols, brilliant and unknown in his lifetime and dead at 44? Or Eddie Rosner, called the Polish Louis Armstrong, imprisoned in a Soviet gulag in Ukraine, where he was allowed to play for fellow prisoners to lift their spirits. Or Shirley Scott, who recorded 45 records in her career and is still unheard. That could be Billie Holiday, waiting to sing the deep, unspoken music we've been longing for. Chekhov said, man is what he believes. Christians believe. Jews believe. Jains believe. Hindus believe. Sufis raise their faces to God and dance. Time is a rhythm. Time is a heartbeat. 3. There's this place. No. There's a feeling. No. What's that word? That thing. You know, when that thing, what you need to say, when 3 a.m. comes and the answer is here and the sun appears and it's gone, what's that word? There's an answer, there's a solution. 2 things combined, dissolved, make another thing. When there's too much of one thing, the solution falls apart. Precipitation. Find different things. Attention must be paid. Gas is a liquid. Glass is a liquid. After 100 years, windows get thicker on the bottom. What was I talking about? Ellington said, I don't need time, I need a deadline. What's that word? Oh yeah, me. I'm the definition of deficient attention, a specific description that's exquisitely wrong. I'm here, reading, talking, but I see the color of your shirt, I see that light, I see that painting. I hear your voices vibrate the piano when the piano isn't playing. It's not a deficit, there's too much attention. I'm attending everything. Like gas filling a bottle, our minds expand to encompass the space. There's always room for more. I live with words. Words have followed me, lazy, late, distracted, not living up to your potential. You may have heard that before. But those of us of the dopamine tribe can never live up to our potential because our potential is endless. Time is the rhythm. Time is the beat. Time on 2 and 4. Thank you very much. Go to thehazproject.com. See what I'm doing next.
Thank you, everybody. Actually, as luck would have it, we actually have more people that are going to be part of the open mic. I just didn't know on time before I got here. So we're going to start with Harold, who has a poem for us. So Harold, where are you?
First and foremost, I'd like to pay my respects to the Creator without whom nothing is possible. The poem that I want to recite for you tonight is inspired by a book of Christian philosophy written in the early 5th AD by Bishop of Hippo. It's entitled The City of God. So this is the City of God. The city of God is fallen. It's the end of days, the shock of the hour, and the angel of death has come calling, coming to reclaim and reap the souls that chose temptation and walked the devil's road. But me as a yet unjudged, sitting in the seat of purgatory, contemplating, reminiscing, how the earth was made, fashioned, sits in a pocket of time and maintains perfect balance. And in spite of rates of rotation, perfect silence. I can't believe that the chaos of a big bang could leave in its wake such perfect non-violence. The earth was conceived in peace. A word was spoken that passed through the dark lips of space, originated from a perfect thought, refined by its struggle to define itself. A void form manifested from nothing to eventually become everything. That in itself should eliminate the impossible. But in this world, some men seek to accept the mark of the beast and attempt to keep the minds of other men trapped in the realms of impossibility beliefs, to where they say that they have faith, but they don't really believe. They hold their breath underwater because they're afraid that they drown if they breathe. E pluribus unum. I hold life in one hand and death in the other. I got the soul of my sister and the spirit of my mother. I got the love of my sister in the back of my brother. In my chest beats the heart of the unknown soldier. I recognize we at war. I carry my dead homie home to his mother, body on my shoulder. How can I explain to her that her son died for confusion? Because the story that we tell for fighting for freedom is a fairy tale, an illusion. Uncle Remus. Because his death is likened to the killing of the firstborn son. Because when the light of Messiah comes, the candle of the Illuminati is done. That's the war of Armageddon. We're in church every day on our knees praying for blessings. Because God gave us everything we need, but we chose the devil's lessons. No questions. See, the city of God is in me. The kingdom of God is the mind. The pyramids, just like Mary and her son Jesus, were a guide assigned to those searching but lost in the wilderness blind. Book of Eli. Close your eyes and learn to rely. 100% on faith. Then look in the mirror, open your eyes and see God's face. Feel God's grace. Travel the world, young man, and make the world a better place. Inspire. Inquire. What is the reason for war? When mankind has so much inside of himself that he's yet to explore. The voice of righteousness that speaks that up to this point he has chose to ignore. So he's afraid to play the chess game of life, to capture, to conquer, and crown himself king of himself. So he bows his head and kneels and kisses the ring of someone else. The city of God is fallen. Read the final call. The book of knowledge has been opened. The word of God has been spoken. The shackles of bondage have been broken. The people of God have been misused. So the so-called American Negro was misled and confused, raped and abused. So now it's hard to lead in the right direction, easily led in the wrong direction. Recognize the fault in self, make the correction. So now I believe I can fly. I believe I can touch the sky. I believe I can see the resplendence of God before I die. So I was born on the west side. I was raised on the east side. I hustled on the north side. I survived on the south side. So all I have left is to accept my own and rise. Then reclaim my divine prize. You can take it how you want, but this is a warning. The word that the world can't kill is coming, even though by all appearances it seems that the city of God is falling.
I am so excited to see so many people that want to be in the open mic. It's so exciting for us. All right, next we have River, who's going to tell us a story.
I am River, and I thought this was just going to be poetry. And, I've been trying to write a little something, something, but I didn't really have anything prepared. So when they said it could be anything, I was like, well, I would like to tell a story. And I think that we're all storytellers. We're all telling a story. And I've been going to the diverse word in downtown Credo on Tuesday nights, and I feel like I want to get it right. I'm a perfectionist, so I wanted to come here and see some talent, kind of see how everybody else is doing it, because I've never done spoken word or poetry before. I'm a photographer, and I'm trying to tell my story through pictures, but it's not enough. And Maya Angelou said that there's no greater agony than carrying an untold story inside of you. And I feel like, and I'm gonna cry, I always cry. I feel like every atom of my being wants to tell my story. And pictures are not enough, so I'm trying to go to poetry and just, as many creative, expressive ways to tell my story as possible. So I really appreciate you guys listening to me. I am nervous, I'm very uncomfortable. Thank you, I really do appreciate your support. The whole reason I kind of came up here last minute was because, as Les Brown says, feel the fear and do it anyway, and it's the only way I'm gonna get comfortable with being uncomfortable. So my story, I would like to take you back to the 80s in Alaska, in the middle of nowhere, to a small one-room cabin that my dad had built himself. It had one window and no running water and no electricity. And it's where I was born. And here I go, crying. I feel like I've been carrying this load for so long, and when I talk about it, it's just uncorking, so I apologize for the emotion. Thank you, I appreciate that. My dad was 31, and when my mom turned 18, he took her all the way up to Alaska, away from her friends and family. And when I was born in that log cabin, there was no doctor, no midwife, no people, no town, nothing for hundreds of miles. And we literally lived in the middle of nowhere. And my dad thinks he's a prophet. And we belonged to a white supremacy church. And when I was born, my mother had already had my older sister. There was 7 of us all together. And as a young woman, I grew up believing that it was the whole sole purpose of my life was to meet a white man and have white babies, because it was part of my duty and our Christian identity and the national emancipation of the white seed. And even when I was little, I was the only one. I always knew something wasn't right about the way we lived. We didn't go to the doctor, we didn't go to school, we didn't have friends. My dad cut us all off from extended family, and I do not remember actually touching another human being aside from my mom and my brothers and sisters until I was 14 years old. And that was not okay for my dad to do that to us. And even when I was little, I knew this is not okay, this isn't right, we're weird. And for the record, I've not spoken to my parents in 6 years. And I do miss my mom, but and it's mainly my dad, when you get to that kind of place of just unreasonableness, it was like a chore trying to visit them and trying to talk to them. And my dad was he was physically abusive, he was emotionally abusive. One of the very first things I can remember is of him making my mom cry. And I tried to confront him one day and tell him all this, and I actually sent him a letter, and he never replied to the letter, and that was 6 years ago. So I feel like as sad as that is, and there's like more, I'm trying to keep it succinct to be respectful of other people's time. There's more, of course, and I'm trying to tell my story through pictures, but I feel like it's not enough, you know, and I've been carrying this load for so long, and I want to, you know, tell it in other art forms, because I know as hard as my story is, I'm not the only one. And I remember being a little girl, and I'd walk away from my family, and I'd go kind of like lay out in the woods, and I'd look up at the sky, and I'd like look at the jet trails going overhead, and I thought of like all the wonderful places those jets were going, and like how bad I wanted to be on those jets. And I know I'm not the only little girl out there like lost, and not just women too, boys, my brothers, they had a hard life too. And so yeah, I don't really know what to say next. I just wanted to offer my soul to you guys. So thank you very much.
So I just want to say I'm so excited that you felt like this was a place where you could tell your story, because that's what we want. I want to ask everybody to take a deep breath right now together to transition from this story, because it is proof that white supremacy is not just hurting people of color, right?
Thank you very much. I appreciate you guys.
All right, thank you, everybody. All right, so we have a poem now with Shuya. I hope I said your name right. Did I? Oh, thank you. Yes. Sorry. It was like broken phone. You know, everybody was telling me the name, and then it got to my phone, and it was like, literally. Thank you. I was trying. It's all right. Thank you so much. Welcome. Hi.
Hi. May I sit down? I think that would be easier for me, much better. Yes. Cool beans. First, I want to really thank River, because, wow, I was not expecting that, but that was authenticity and honesty, and I just love when people are honest, because I know for myself personally, lately I've been like on a fast from social media, but I still go on, so it's like I'm not really winning in the fast. But it's like, I be like, this is so weird. Like, this does not feel like it's real to me. It's not. That's why. And, like, to hear that story, like, that's not something someone just did to be quirky or something like, that's just honest, you know? And I think even though it's very specific in terms of addressing racial trauma, it's still something that a lot of people can relate to, with feeling like internally that something is off and there's good in the world and striving for that. And so that was really good, so thank you for that. My name is Snusha. Today I am sharing a poem or two. Yeah, these are poems that really speak to me. I wanted to bring something that was kind of feeling kind of angsty when I wrote it, but also too, like, I think it was necessary in order to transition, and I think honesty is important. And so the first poem is called Liberation. Liberation is words that never made it past your tongue. It tastes like secretions in your mouth that kept secrets alive as they were snagged on your teeth and made homes in cavities. The truth is handled through funneled airwaves. Your mouth has not adjusted to perching its lips appropriately. The whirlwinds ricochet violently, wearing relentless visions. It exposes pigments hidden in your gut and slings them forward. You gag as it inches along your throat, painting masterpieces with jelly and acid and stomach juice. Everyone stares as bloodied words line your bottom lip in curdled funk. It won't smell like flowers. It will smell like yeast and contamination. Your body peels from disease, eyes bug-eyed and bulging, yellow with pink rings and barely kept in place. Hangnails draping a half inch away from your nail beds, earwax encasing your lobes in amber. But as you vomit the vicious rhythm inside of you, the metamorphosis shall begin. You'll kick the molten skin beside you as though it were mulch, munching the pavement. Awe at the skin marks that trail behind as it takes on a gradient softness. Marvel at your newfound plasticity, slapping your thighs and finding they sing like rubber bands on a Kleenex box guitar. Ugliness cannot lay in its purple caught beneath your eyes. It scurries elsewhere. The baggy slither of skin has been sideswept by sleep in peace. True alchemy. Thank you. Okay, cool beans. And so, yeah, okay, so I kind of have I don't know, this has just been such an amazing night to hear everyone. I'm literally in love right now. And partially because the poet laureate, Mr. Welcome to Me, it's hello. 10 years ago when I was at Oak Ridge, this was one of the guys that was keeping me alive at that school, man. It was rough. And I'm honest, I'm wow, that's awesome, dude. I am so happy. And so I was Jesus just showing out today. So that's how I feel. And so I'm sorry, that's how I feel. This last poem, I'm gonna stand up. Work on my presentation. Who's in love tonight? Woo! Came here with a partner, somebody, or yourself, or you just love Jesus, or whatever you love. This poem is titled Aerobic Love. As I watched his lips part and eyelids sag, I realized he was falling asleep. My mind was powered by bubbles being propelled in every direction. It was not quite ready to say goodnight. So we began stretching, releasing all drowsiness from the thuds of our bodies up. As breaching the sky, stretching past the atmosphere, collecting stars in pockets that belong to our hands, twirling God's hair between her fingers and our edges, fearful of unintentionally challenging her divinity. And down, releasing our grip of his kinky locks, returning stars to their respective homes within the galaxy, shimmying down to reality, reliving burns in moist black terra, reminding ourselves that being down to earth means more than brewing black tea. Down. Our arms chased quarters and chickens, replaced levers with labors. We stretched and breathed. When it was all said and done, we had realized the flexibility of loving one another. Thank you.
Get so excited seeing everybody. Yes. All right. See, Shawn, what you're doing? Amazing. All right. Now, the last person we'll have tonight is someone who's very beloved by Timucua. So Benji will be telling us a story.
Thank you. This is really amazing. I never thought that this would happen here, but here we are, and it's beautiful. So I'm a blogger, writer, and just a storyteller. And a lot of the themes that I like to speak about are about queer experiences, and particularly with identity, not necessarily with sexuality. Queer experiences come in a variety of shapes and forms, but most of those things start with how, at least for myself, how I identify as queer. And so I'm exploring the ideas of materialism and being queer and how those two things connect. Because in the end, I think that most of us are just bodies, and we can't really disguise our bodies. But when we do, that's a part of our creativity. So I'm going to share a story that I actually wrote for a panel that I did with Nikki Barnes. And it has, and while you can't see the photos, they're pretty fantastic. So the title is called True Beauty, and you can read it on my blog at benjamin-gallagher.com, but I'm going to read it for you now. So, tell me what you think about when you see these photos, my friend said. He ordered me to admit that these photos inspired me to write about the meaning of true beauty. The task loomed over me for several days before I called my mom. True beauty comes from within, Mom said. A cool summer wind blew down the street. I sat outside Timucua Arts Foundation in South Downtown Orlando, Florida. People cheered from inside the venue. My heart pounded along to the beat of drums from the concert hall. I wondered how to interpret her words as an artist. People like Frida Kahlo and Andy Warhol created portraits that positioned themselves as icons in the present day. People recognized Kahlo by the long eyebrow painted across her face. Shops always sold Andy Warhol costumes around Halloween. However, his performance relied on a monotone voice and quick quips. Both artists defied the meaning of true beauty. In high school, I found the Marilyn Monroe portraits in a book about Warhol. Her bright gold hair made me smile. The artwork inspired me to take a drawing class, trying to recreate some sort of magic in my own pieces. I wanted to become iconic. I didn't want people to recognize me as someone other than the quiet brown kid that wore the same blue sweater every day. I didn't want them to think of me as the insecure gay kid that listened to Avril Lavigne. I was actually singing her song on the way here, so I just want to let you know that hasn't changed. I hope that they would remember me as the person who walked around school dressed as a zombie for several hours before being summoned to the dean's office. We can't recognize you with that makeup on, the dean said. I sat across from her with a plastic chain around my neck. We need to be able to see your face all the time. You really do look great, though. She ordered me to the bathroom where the makeup came off. I went back to class as a normal teenager. Since then, I've often wondered what makes people so iconic and how they think about others. Frida painted a unibrow on her self-portraits. The brow defied normal beauty standards for women. She recognized the flaws in herself as a defining factor of Frida Kahlo. Meanwhile, Warhol recorded himself eating a hamburger. I loved to hate him. I loved that he played a part in the reputation of Studio 54 and that whole party era. However, I hated him for being a chaotic cloud of emotions for so many other people. I felt conflicted about two deceased artists in the 21st century. Frida and Warhol inspired me to think about the meaning of true beauty. So, true beauty comes from within, yes. True beauty inspires us to think about how we inspire others to feel about ourselves. We create art about it. We conspire about what makes each of us unique, recklessly normal, and also a miracle. We write about it because we hope others will remember us as one of them and someone I'm honored to call a friend. I know, I said to my mother. A cold wind returned to the world. The sound of drums stopped playing. People clapped as a voice thanked everyone for coming to the show. I said goodnight and hung up the phone.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing. So touching, to hear everyone. And I think you've mentioned this several times, but everybody has a story to tell, and to be in a space where we can do that is really beautiful. And we can be ourselves.
In a bit of a twist of irony, I'm fairly speechless. I was thinking about Benji texting me this morning a bunch of happy faces, and I'm looking at it half tired, like, dude, what? And he's like, it's Sunday, and I'm writing. I'm like, awesome. And so now you shared a story, and I'm really excited about it. Because I haven't gotten to hear any of your writing, even though you've always told me about it. This was amazing, and I really am kind of speechless. I'm really grateful for getting the opportunity to do this last month when it was myself, Patrick, and Joaquina reading. I know that they spoke to either it being a safe space for them or it becoming a safe space for them, and what we want as far as speaking raw, speaking authentically, speaking as ourselves, opening up on any topic through any medium is just for this to be a safe and healing and cathartic and honest space, and this went beyond anything I could have hoped for tonight. I'm thankful for the few of you that came and, hey, can I still go? Is it okay? Yes, it's always great. So I'm super happy. Thank you so much. Thank you to Timucua for letting us do this. Thank you, Shawn, again for coming. Thank you, Gina, for this silhouette here. And we hope to see you on the third Sundays of every month at 7:30. Thank you.
This project was made possible by our season sponsors, Orange County, United Arts, the state of Florida, and ACS. Our wonderful board members, among whom are Mary Solik and Jason Schaller. We thank our donors and members, as well as our business sponsors. Please thank them for their support for Timucua.